Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is L, and I'm going to be bringing you a kill confirmed match on the map Mirage. I'm going to be using the AN-94 with grip and reflex sight. Let's get into it. So, to start off with, I'm actually going to go down the center area, and that's actually not a really smart move because generally the center area is pretty dangerous, but the first thing I want to point out is I just wanted to pause it to point out how I'm going around this corner with my sight up. And this pretty much prevents me from dying in the first few, in the first few minutes of the game or actually the first like 30 seconds of the game, because I'm really trying to strafe around corners and make sure that no matter what gunfight I get into, I will have the advantage, right, like right there. Even though I didn't have my sight up before I went around that corner, I knew that guy wasn't going to be facing me because he had just ran by me and didn't check his back and didn't spot me. So I decided to, run over there and try to pick up the kill. I actually probably should have knifed him because that would have been a smarter thing to do, but whatever. I have scavenger, and I was able to, I'm able to pick up more ammo, so I'm not really punished for using my gun right there, especially since I was close to my spawn where the enemies or having an enemy like come around a corner wasn't as much of a threat. And right there, that was a really nice play. Except right here, I should not have gone into that gunfight because I had basically no life. And right here, I want to pause it just to point out um, how I played this. I spawned and I went around that corner or went up those stairs with my sight up, and I went into that gunfight with the advantage because first of all, that guy didn't even know I was there. Second, I had my sight up and I had what do you call it? I had cover in between me and the other guy, and right there, that was a really good move. Even though I didn't hit anybody, I threw the flashbang just to make sure that there was no one there, and if I had hit someone, that would have told me that there was someone there, and I should have been more cautious in how I was going to approach that situation. And right there, right after I pick up that kill, running right behind that jeep before I reload, and that's a really smart thing to do is reloading when you can and not when you have to, because I find that if you go into a gunfight and you win a gunfight and you reload when you're like completely safe, it's a good area. Like right there, I checked to make sure that I was safe to reload before I reloaded. But if you go into a gunfight with half a clip stay and you end up running out of ammo in the middle of that gunfight, well, then you're in a pretty bad spot. But for the most part, I would say that if you're going to that you want to reload when it's safe to, not always force reloading, because if you just got out of a gunfight, more likely than not, especially if you're not running like a suppressed weapon, you're probably going to be known or your location is probably going to be known by the enemies. And if you, reload right after you get out of a gunfight without checking, if you're safe or not, then you could end up just getting yourself killed because you reloaded at a bad time. Right here, I wanted to pause it just to point out where I set up my lightning strike. Like, even though you can see on my lightning strike that there were a few people there, I used that cover to my advantage so that I was able to get into my lightning strike without being disturbed. And right here, that was a really nice triple. That was a really good play. I didn't play too aggressively, and I didn't push into a gunfight I didn't want to get into. And I also used that handrail as cover, and I used just the strafing to give me the advantage. And fortunately, I was able to pick up that triple and pick up my orbital VSAT. And right here, this is where things really start to take off. I just picked up my orbital VSAT, and it really helps having an orbital VSAT up there because it just tracks the enemies pretty much the whole game or the whole 45 seconds, and it gives you the location and the direction that they're facing, which is a which is a pretty good advantage. And it also is a relatively good support for the rest of your team because then they'll play more aggressive, and you will more likely than not have a more objective playing team while the orbital VSAT is up. Right here, this is actually going to be an unfortunate death. I really that was just an accident with the with the C4. I really shouldn't have thrown that where like I just should have had better aim with my C4. I accidentally threw it in an area that wouldn't have saved me. or would have killed me if I'd blown it up. Right here, having some difficulty climbing onto this roof, because I know you can get up there, and I've done it before. I had a problem with trying to get up on it, and apparently I'm handicapped in the art of going up ladders and climbing objects, I guess. I don't know. I was just having a problem there. Anyway, jumping back into the gameplay, I'm actually going to push this right side because I noticed that, like, there's not very many enemies on this side, or not very many, what do you call it, allies on this side, and that my team is pretty much spawning behind me, so I'm trying to, pick up as many kills as possible, so I'm rushing into the enemy spawn, using this cover to my advantage to try to pick up these guys, and I'm just really trying to play a bit more defensive than normal, because for the most part, if you're going to use an assault rifle, it's better to get into gunfights where you have the advantage. Like it pretty much requires you getting into gunfights where you have the advantage because of how disabled assault rifles can be at a close range. Except for like maybe the FAL can outshoot like a MP7 or something at close range, but it's relatively difficult to do well with with an AR at close range because the submachine guns are so good at close range, and it. So, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to play defensive so that I can get into gunfights where I have the advantage, and it helps doing better in the game. I would definitely recommend if you're gonna use an assault rifle besides like the FAL maybe and the SCAR, try to play a little bit more defensive. Don't play super aggressive, and even if you're playing a suppressor, don't try to rush spawns too much, because that could end up ending poorly, and probably won't end up doing too well if you rush too much with an unsuppressed assault rifle, because they don't do too well in certain situations, especially in spawn rushing situations. This gameplay is actually wrapping up, guys. Final score was 36-2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and share. Have a good day, and God bless.